This video is dedicated to Antonio Rouse. Antonio, thank you. Torbran, Thane of Redfell versus Saskia the Unyielding with a slow hand. Can we survive long enough to get the stuff in our hand going against Saskia of all people? I'm not sure we can, but I'm going to risk it. We're on the draw at least, but I'd rather be on the play against Saskia. Okay, it's an Inquisition of Kozilek. Converted mana cost 3 or less, so they've only got 2 choices there. They go after the Goblin Chain Whirler. Are we going to get into another land? We are. Oh, we could be really nasty and wasteland our opponent. I'll save that for a bit later on. There are 4 colour decks, so we could really mess them up. Alright, and our opponent gets into a Mana Crypt, so I think that kind of forces us to get into wasteland, doesn't it? Do we want to go for... there's double green there, unfortunately. They might be able to rebuild their lands pretty quickly, but we'll get rid of tutor mana. And we'll just hope that that Mana Crypt doesn't help them too much. Into cultivates and things like that. Well, more green mana for them, so I'm glad we didn't take green mana away from them. They get into Fleecemane Lion. Still missing 2 of their colours with only 3 cards in hand. Doesn't seem too hopeful for them. Hopefully for us. Now this can become indestructible, can't it? So if they make a land this turn, they may well just go for that. Yeah, hexproof and indestructible. They swing in at us with the Fleecemane Lion. They do not make a land. We consistently draw into lands, apparently. So it's probably Browbeat. We choose a target player. I'm guessing that's the player. Oh no, you target the player that draws the cards. I've done this before with Browbeat, so we target ourselves. And see if they want to take a hit for 5. They take the hit for 5. That should help us a little bit later on. And this Mana Crypt is hopefully going to be on our side this game as well. Now, if they dodge a land again, then we can get down Chandra next turn and kill this thing off before it becomes too much of a hassle for us. They're going for the sword, that's good. So we definitely, of all the swords, it's protection from red, so we definitely need to remove this thing before they can make use of that. So let's go for the Chandra. Go for the -4 onto that thing. And I'm hoping that we've slowed them down enough here. It looks like we might just get away with it. Especially if they keep missing lands and keep taking lightning bolts from that Mana Crypt like they just did. This is whenever a creature enters, it deals 1 damage to that creature's controller. Get into Drakuseth as well. Can we play that this turn? 4, 5, 6 and 7. 5, 6 and 7 we can. So let's just go in for Drakuseth. We don't even need our commander at this point, apparently. We can get down our commander next turn and deal even more damage with the Drakuseth. They had Swords to Plowshares in hand, alright. So they might have a tutor in hand that they can't cast, but that was the difficulty of knowing which land to blow up. Black gives them any cards, including ramp and colour fixing. And white gives them Swords to Plowshares. Anyway, we will use some mana there. Let's go for our Torbran. And then we'll go for Rampaging Ferocidon as well. And that will be whenever a creature comes into play under their control, it will lightning bolt them. And speaking of lightning bolts, they continue to get bolted by the Crypt. And there we go, they get into more black mana. They're still a mana short, so they wouldn't have been able to get their commander out anyway, I don't think, because they haven't seen red mana this game. They might have drawn into it off of the sword, though. Alright, a Toxic Deluge now. Chandra Flamecaller, alright. Well, we can have both of them in play at once, so let's go for it. We deal 6 damage to them. They will be damn near close to dying next turn if that Mana Crypt continues to be on our side. Our opponent continues to be unlucky with that. They go down to 1. They need to deal with our Chandra Flamecaller. But it seems as though they don't have anything. And our opponent was a good sport about it. There was no salt or anything. Asking if we passed by mistake. I don't know what that was in reference to. I don't think we skipped a turn by mistake. Anyway, yeah, that was not a particularly satisfying one. It's obviously a very capable deck, and if someone goes for a turn 1 Inquisition, I kind of go into a more competitive mode because I assume that it's a more competitive deck, and yeah, I think it's safe to say that this is fairly competitive at the very least, and yeah, it might be a very consistent deck. Anyway, our opponent couldn't get into their mana, so not a particularly fair game, I don't think. I think we should try another one. Torbran, Thane of Redfell, this time up against a favourite of mine, Nissa, Vastwood, Seer. We can get Valakut out on turn 1 so that we don't draw into it on turn 4 when we're ready for our commander, so I like getting out the tap land early on. Valakut is not affected by our commander because it's not a red source. It makes red mana, but all lands are colourless, unless stated otherwise. But it might become relevant later on. 3 lightning bolts isn't nothing. Ooh, Dryad Arbor for our opponent. Do we go for a Pyroclasm with Dryad Arbor in play? This is 1 damage to each opponent. Yeah, we'll go for that instead. I'll play nice for now. Ooh, and speaking of playing nice, that's what you get. A turn 2 Grim Monolith coming down. Alright, a Braid can eat that quite nicely. Let's tap and deal damage to our opponent. And then we go for a Braid to destroy that artifact. And that will untap the Thermo Alchemist. Yeah, I don't want to give them a turn with Grim Monolith because they could go for a land. That would be 6 mana on turn 3. So as much as I would like to have gotten down the Chandra and then untap both of these with the Abrade, I don't think that's the thing to do. Alright, our opponent tapping for mana in response. That's... yeah, I don't know what the script is there. They don't do anything with the colourless mana, it's just a good habit to get into apparently, tapping your rocks in response to them being destroyed. They've still got a full grip of 7, and they do manage to play a land, so they can go in for Nissa here, and it might be time. Yeah, we don't need to rush into it. I think we can go Torbran next turn and then go for Pyroclasm afterwards. They might play a big green creature between now and then that we can wrap up in the Pyroclasm. That will be 4 damage to each of our opponent's creatures, 2 damage to ours. Tap this down and deal a damage to our opponent. Get into that Chandra Flamecaller again. Let's go for the Torbran and hope it sticks. Hope it sticks through our opponent's turn, that is. Elvish Spirit Guide has just entered the exile zone apparently to give them some green mana. Alright, an Acidic Slime, that will get wrapped up in our Pyroclasm. So they're still at 3 lands after the Pyroclasm, that is. Obviously getting rid of our Valakut, so that makes it more difficult for us to recast our Torbran. I'm just going to hope that our opponent doesn't have a Beast Within or something like that. Deciding not to swing in when we've got good blockers. And then we Lightning Bolt with the Thermo Alchemist. The damage is really going to start piling up with this thing now. The thing about this deck is we don't need to get into the red zone, although we will next turn. Alright, another land is good. So we Lightning Bolt our opponent before we go for the Pyroclasm. Yeah, that's annoying. We would have had enough for Chandra this turn, as well as the Pyroclasm. Anyway, let's go for that. Wipe our opponent's board. And then we'll just Lightning Bolt them again now. And we will swing in for 4 points of damage off of Torbran. His ability works on attacks as well. So that's 4 points of commander, taking them down to 13. And they get themselves into a Harmonise, keeping themselves at multiple cards in hand, a full grip of 7 in fact. We're getting into our big stuff, so we need... what is this? Instants and sorceries untap it. So let's just go for the Bolt now. We'll get down that Chandra as well and hope that we can keep it in play. If our opponent manages to wipe the board or anything like that, we're probably not going to be able to come back. It's win fast or don't win in this deck a lot of the times. And for them, it's do something about our board or lose next turn. Yeah, there we go. They don't have anything. I think pretty much the only thing green could have had was something like a Nevinrel's Disc or what's the other one? Oblivion Stone, something like that. All is dust, but they couldn't ramp up to it in time. Yeah, if they'd managed to get up to Ugin, that would have dealt with us, but they just didn't have the time. That's the whole point in this deck. We don't necessarily need as much mana as a green deck does, but we win faster, and if we don't win fast enough, then we're probably not winning, like I said. They had a Brutalizer Exarch, which could have gotten rid of our commander. Crop rotation, maybe in for Ancient Tomb, which you don't necessarily want to play against a burn deck. Gaia's Cradle if you can keep the creatures in play. Primal Command, yeah, the life gain might help. Maybe there's a certain creature you can go for. Regal Force is more card draw. Tooth and Nail is a 1-card combo that I really don't like, but if you're in a more competitive meta, then you can take advantage of that. We all know Ugin is a board wipe that goes in any deck. And again, any creature you want. Not sure what creatures they could have gone for there, to be honest, in green. Anyway, hopefully you all enjoyed those 2 games. They were fairly convincing wins for Torbran. It's always good to get some quick games in with Torbran. It's an enjoyable list, I think. If you did enjoy it, be sure to leave it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I will see you all in the next game. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.